No, it's not a top tier jet with 30G missiles, but I think you're going to enjoy it anyways. Today we're looking at the Lim-5P, which is essentially a MiG-17 with an afterburner. If you guys are familiar with the Shenyang F5, it's basically the same plane. The only difference is that this one has 323mm cannons instead of 223s and a 37 that you typically see on the MiG-17 and the Shenyang. And it also has a radar, which really isn't that useful at all at this battle rating, but hey, if you want it, there it is. There is a minor difference between the MiG-17 and the Lim-5P's flight model. We'll get to that a little bit later, but firstly I want to touch on why I just don't really like this battle rating, and you're going to see it on screen right here. I've got two enemies right in front of my nose that should be completely dead. I should have them no problem, but checking my 6 I see two aircraft and there are a potential for missiles to be launched. They are launched, and if I continue following these two guys in front of me that have just stalled themselves out completely, forfeited their right to live, then I would be doing the same because I'd be eating a missile right on my 6 o'clock because, well, I wouldn't have enough speed to dodge it. I just don't really find that fun for this battle rating. This is more of like a jet fighter, gunfighter era of jets, and they kind of lend more to the dogfighting scene. And when you have planes all over the place at the 9.0, 10.0 BR bracket range that have really strong missiles, it kind of creates a very annoying dynamic to where you can't really play your plane the way it's supposed to because you have to worry about getting missiled at all times. Just really frustrating, and you can work around it. If you enjoy that kind of gameplay, that's fine. That's my reasoning why I don't like this battle rating bracket. Couple that with the fact that pretty much every game you're going to be running into a very large amount of premium aircraft on either team. A lot of my games I actually end up getting like 50% premiums on either side, and that's just extremely annoying and kind of ruined the entire battle rating bracket for me. As much as I love these jets and the combat that they're capable of, like this type of fighting on screen right here is my absolute favorite fighting in War Thunder, but the frequency of which you're going to be able to get into a fight like this at this battle rating anymore is almost zero. Either way, we're dogfighting a MiG-17, and you're going to notice when you're flying the Lim-5 that the MiG-17 might be able to pull inside you. It seems like the MiG-17 can turn better than you, and well, that's because it can. The MiG-17 is ever so slightly lighter than the Lim-5, and just because of that reason, it's going to have a little bit more nose authority, and you're going to have to be a little careful when dogfighting it. However, you do have an afterburning engine that the MiG-17 does not, so you can kind of just energy trap the MiG-17, kind of like what I'm doing on screen here. And that's essentially just going to be the only way I kill him. I just hold S the entire time. I start quote-unquote rate fighting him, and he's not going to be able to keep up because he does not have the afterburner that I have. He's also going to have to pull off because a teammate kind of enters the fight, so he's got to worry about that. Unfortunately, that's going to leave him exposed just enough for me to be able to get a shot in and finish off that kill. And again, when you're actually dogfighting somebody at this battle rating, in a traditional sense, of course, it's, in my opinion, the most fun gameplay War Thunder has to offer. Now, I will say that I have had an incredibly frustrating time trying to get footage of the Lim-5, so I apologize in advance that a lot of this footage isn't exactly going to very easily and obviously demonstrate the capabilities of this plane. And that of course just comes down to the aforementioned issues that I was ranting about earlier in the video, you know, premium players, missiles, BRs that I just don't think that they belong in, and of course the gameplay itself, man. With these premium players, a lot of times you're just going to be shooting people at this BR that are completely unaware that you're there, and they're not going to really fight you. You're just going to sneak up on their 6 and shoot them while they're trying to tunnel vision missile somebody with their AV-8 Harrier or something like that. I don't know. Or maybe half the game is saturated with A4 Skyhawks trying to bomb bases, and of course they're not going to really fight you either. But sometimes you get a nice down tier, or a somewhat down tier like you see on screen, and you're going to be fighting Cougars, Panthers, A5 Sabres, you name it. And this is just bullying, man. These planes stand absolutely no chance against the Lim-5. In regards to the Cougar, I'm going to turn better than him, I'm going to accelerate better than him, I'm going to climb better than him, and I have better top speed than him. So what is he supposed to do? Well, really nothing, just roll over and die. And I think this plane's probably going to go up to a battle rating of 9.3, which is where the F5 currently sits, although the F5 does have two AIM-9Bs. I know that's not what they're actually called, but they're basically AIM-9Bs. And even though this doesn't have missiles, I think 9.3 is absolutely in the future for this aircraft. It's just too strong at the battle rating it's currently at. Again, it's a MiG-17 with an afterburner, and the normal MiG-17 without the afterburner sits at a battle rating of 9.0, just like the Lim-5 does. So I don't really get the line of thinking here, other than straight up battle rating compression, which we all know is a reoccurring issue on this game. With that being said, of course, is it worth to grind? I absolutely think so. I think you're going to have a great time in this aircraft, especially with the current battle rating of 9.0. It's definitely kind of a flavor of the month plane, and I think it's overall the most enjoyable aircraft that has been added with the new Danger Zone update. That is with the caveat of, well, what we've already mentioned throughout the video. If you're going to be getting up tiers, sometimes it's just not going to be a fun time, but when you're sitting at your own battle rating, or God forbid you get down tiered, you're a very, very strong plane, and it's pretty easy to do well with this thing. Of course, you have your standard MiG compression problems at high speeds, so if you're not used to MiGs, that's going to be a little bit of a hurdle to get over. The 23s are fantastic guns. I personally prefer the 323 loadout over the 223s and 37, just because I think when you're actually shooting with your 23s in mind and holding down that trigger for longer than 1 second, you're actually going to get a little bit more kills, and you're not going to be quite so stingy with your shots. Try not to waste ammo and make sure you hit that 37. They're relatively easy to aim. If you're used to US guns, for example, they're a little bit slower velocity, so that'll be something you'll have to learn if you've never played Russian 23s before, but these guns do a lot of damage on screen. A little bit of a rubber banding problem, but it's just an F9, F2. I'm going to go ahead and air brake him, stay on his 6. I'm just going for a high kill game pretty much right now, so I'm just going to try to kill the first person I see. At this battle rating, I'm not really too worried about getting slow. The MiG-17 and the Lim-5 both have some pretty damn good low speed performance, and on top of that, with the afterburner, you can get your speed back extremely quickly, on top of the fact that MiG's base low speed acceleration, even without the afterburner, is already pretty damn good throughout the entire line. F86 F2 comes in, we just kind of jink out of the way of his shots, and gonna turn around to try to get a shot into him in somewhat of a reversal, but he's just gonna fly away, which is absolutely the right call. Especially granted I'm on such lower speed than him, but I'm not going to go chase him down. He's already going so much faster than me. It'd take a pretty long time for me to catch up. So I'm just going to go ahead and try to make more of an impact with the majority of the enemies spotted over here. Pretty large amount of A5 Sabres, and the A5 Sabre is honestly sometimes more frustrating to play against than something like the F2 Sabre, just because the A5 can actually turn. And if it can pull that nose on target and just start spraying 50 cals at you, well, sometimes it'll end your fight pretty early on. Speaking of getting sprayed by 50 cals, this guy ends up landing some kind of stray 50 cal shot, does very minor damage to my plane. I really didn't think I'd be getting hit right there, but I did. Could have been a lot worse, so I'm happy that it's only yellow damage. Either way, we're able to turn back inside, pick off another A5, and now that we have our afterburner and the F-25s going kind of vertical, I'm actually able to kind of keep up with him despite him starting on a slightly larger energy state. If you're in a Sabre and you end up playing the Lim-5, vertical is just not the move. It's going to be able to pull inside of your vertical turn, as well as it'll maintain its energy better than you. So it's just, there's no point in going vertical with this thing. Try to keep it horizontal if you can, do some kind of rolling scissors, see if you can get an overshoot using your roll rate, but all in all, the Sabre is pretty outmatched by the Lim-5 in almost every category. The big thing about the Sabres that they had over like the MiG-17, for example, is that, well, at least the F-Series Sabres almost always had better top speed or high speed acceleration over the MiG-17. So say you're around the area of 800, 850 kilometers an hour, the F-86F is going to kind of blow the MiG-17 out of the water in terms of acceleration. It's going to get to its top speed much quicker in a straight line, at least starting at those upper end speeds, and that's why a lot of times it would look as though the Sabre is the faster jet, even though the MiG-17 has better top end speed theoretically. That being said, the MiG-17F, or also the Ligma 5, Shenyang F5, whatever you want to call it, it has the afterburner, which completely negates this advantage on the Sabre's end. So there is literally nothing left that the F-86F has going for it over the MiG-17F series, other than, of course, the roll rate. Same battle rating, by the way. Still sitting at 9.0. So again, probably going to go to 9.3. F2H in front of us here just kind of committed to a head-on, so we're able to get a burst in, pull off. You notice I kind of pulled out my air brake going into that merge just because I know I can dominate this guy in terms of flight performance, so I just wanted to slow myself down a little to be able to get my nose back around on him quicker so I can just essentially kill him quicker. Unfortunately, the Vautour finishes him off. Not exactly a kill steal, just disappointed that I didn't get to finish it. And now we're just going to be chasing the F-86 F2. We do the exact same dodge as we did last time he attacked us, and again, he does have an energy advantage, but there's really no one else in the area, so this time I am going to actually end up chasing him. The F-86 F-35, I believe the premium Sabre, also takes a head-on commit, and he pays the price for that as well. I'm just going to go ahead and cut right on ahead to where we finally catch up to this F2 Sabre, and I gotta firstly just give props to this guy because he could have just ran to the airfield, camped the SAMs, and waited until he could land and jay out and leave the game, but he didn't. He tried to stick it and fight, even though he is fighting a plane that completely outclasses him. He does do a pretty damn good job, at least for what he's able to do with the F2 Sabre. I'm going to try to get some shots into him here. I know I can air brake and just cut throttle on this guy because, well, he's going to try to make me overshoot. I don't want that to happen, but above all, I know I can do basically anything I want. I'm going to beat him on the low speed acceleration. I'm going to beat him in a turn fight, so I'm really not worried about it. So long as I can just sit on this guy's 6, I don't really care what my current energy state is. And he's going to go ahead and start using his roll rate, which is superior to mine, and that's pretty much the only advantage he has against me. And it is going to cause me to miss some shots, as I already have. I do only have 15 rounds left, so I'm waiting for a much easier shot than what he's giving me right now, because I do not want to miss and then have to run back to base, and he's probably going to maybe be able to chase me down and kill me when I have no ammo. So I'm just flying around with him, waiting for the absolute opportune moment to get a shot in, and as we come out of the dive, he unfortunately clips a tree. Again, nothing he can really do in that fight anyways. I don't really shame him for hitting the tree. He was probably looking back at me, panicking for his life, as he's trying to figure out how to get a Lim-5 off of his 6. We're going to go ahead and jump into an up tier here, because I don't think I've really shown too many up tiers this video, and with a battle rating of 9.0, you're gonna get a fair share of 9.7s. I will say though, 9.0 matchmaking is significantly better than 9.3, so I think that'll probably be the biggest issue if the Lim-5 goes up to 9.3 BR, which it probably will, is just it's gonna see 9.7 very, very frequently compared to a 9.0. I don't know what the reason is, because it's only a 0.3 difference, but I'd say I get about 50% of my matches up tiers versus 70% of my matches up tiers at 9.3. Anyways, I'm kind of focusing down this F4C. I missed some pretty easy shots, but I'm going to air brake, cut throttle on this guy, stay behind his 6 because I noticed he was going really slow, and that's why I chose him. He's capable of much over supersonic speed. I don't want to be chasing him down at any other point in the fight. So I noticed he was slow. That's the perfect time to get him out of the match. My teammates might end up killing him later. They might not. So that's just the best time to be able to shoot a plane that's capable of those kind of speeds when I'm in something subsonic. Little bit cheeky focusing him down like that, yeah. Not necessarily the best idea to cut throttle and air brake somebody like that, but I was checking my surroundings going into that. I knew there really wasn't any big threats in the area besides an F3H. I think he missed a shot. It was pretty easy dodge. And now we have either the same or another F3H on our 6 here. And the F3H is a damn maneuverable plane. It can pull pretty hard. The problem is the Lim-5 can also turn really, really well, and he bleeds speed pretty quickly when he's pulling hard. So I'm just going to go ahead and drop the landing flaps, force an overshoot, and once he's right in front of our nose, there's really not much he can do. He's already bled so much speed, and despite the battle rating difference, I would much rather be in the Lim-5 than the F3H. The F3H doesn't have the better top speed. It can pull really hard, but at the cost of losing energy very quickly. So the Lim-5 does balance that out pretty well. It turns tight if you need it to, especially with the landing flaps out, but it can retain its energy really well if you need it to as well, something the F3H just doesn't really do. So in a dogfight, particularly between those planes, I would definitely rather be in the Lim-5. But moving on to a little bit more of an up tier situation. This is an up tier game, but we haven't really been challenged too much with an up tier issue. and that's going to change. We're going to have an AV-8A Harrier, which has AIM-9Gs. I'm not too sure if he has AIM-9Gs when I go to engage him. It doesn't really seem like he does, and I don't remember him shooting them at me. But the real issue is the T2, because the T2's got the Vulcan, which is extremely easy to aim. The T2 can pull some really hard AOA to help it point its nose and aim that Vulcan. But above all, he can just run away from me whenever he wants to. Take a cheeky little shot at the T2, he evades that pretty easily, and now I've still got the Harrier in front of me, so I know that's the target I need to go after. If I turn around and go for the T2, I'm just going to give the Harrier my 6 o'clock for free, so I have to at least engage him once to get both of these targets kind of in the same direction, at least in relation to me. Now this is going to be the main issue, of course, with your up tiers. Both of these planes can just outrun me, and they are going to do that, which I don't blame them for. It's kind of just what they have to do. It is a little bit annoying, but they really don't have any other options. The T2 gets enough separation to come back around. He's going to push a head-on. I know the Vulcan's extremely scary to go head-on with, especially when you have really low velocity 23mm in comparison, but as long as you just watch for when those shots leave the barrel, you should be able to dodge them relatively easily. Once we've passed him, we know we have to go after the Harrier because, well, he's the one that's kind of in our immediate direction. Again, don't want to turn around and give the Harrier a 6 for free. I kind of anticipate him to do some kind of dodge right there as I got the lead and pulled my nose on him, but he just kind of flew in a straight line, so we will remember that for later. The T2 does commit to a head-on. We'll also remember that for later. I don't think he's going to give us the chance, though, because he does look like he's going to maybe dogfight, but then he ends up just going back to base, presumably for fuel. But that's great, because now I'm 1v1 with the AV-8A. And I think I might be able to out-top end the Harrier. Don't quote me on that, but either way, if he really wanted to, he can just climb away from me or something annoying like that. He doesn't though, he's going after the teammate it looks like, and as I begin to come around on him, he's going to react and start to dodge. Now, remember a little bit earlier when I had the exact same shot on him in the exact same scenario and he just didn't react? Well, he's not going to react again, and we're just going to shoot exactly where he's going to be, and this time we're not going to anticipate any kind of dodge or rolling out of the way. So of course we get the kill, and we have the T2 left at the base. I end up just strafing him or something like that right after he takes off. He tries to turn back into his airfield to get the SAMs. He does manage to get the roll-ins to kill me, but not in time, and I managed to get the kill and finish the game. He wasn't very happy about that, but that's okay. That's the Lim-5 for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it's not top tier, but I think if you get it, you will enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next video.